Welcome to the first episode of Getting Your Buzz On in Sobriety. I'm David P., and with Tony F., we are going to talk sobriety and the good, the highs, the lows, and all around it. So this is a 30-minute podcast. This is our first go at this episode number 1. Would love to hear your comments or feedbacks at buzzoninsobriety@gmail.com. This podcast is not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous or any other 12-step program. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Well, and I think a fun name of the podcast would be Getting Your Buzz On in Sobriety. What do you think of that? I think you and me both doing that. All right, Getting Your Buzz On in Sobriety. This is episode 1, February 5th, 2023.
Yeehaw.
And we'll click that in there.
All right.
And I think tee up that conversation. I'm talking, somehow I got my phone number is hooked in some group in South Central LA.
Uh-huh.
And I'm talking to this guy, and
I've talked to 3 of your guys.
good, beautiful. And one of them, though, he was sending me texts, and I told him, don't text you. I said, call first.
Yeah.
And we're chatting some more. And then he starts going into the thing that he's staying at. I want to go to AA, CA, MA. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but
Why?
But why? He goes, well, because they want you to do it. And I could see him getting uptight. And I was just like, bud, and Alcoholics Anonymous, I guess helping clarify that, having all these different programs, I sometimes confuse the newcomer.
Absolutely. And you want the end goal is what? Stay sober off of all alcohol and chemicals. Okay, but you don't have to go to a special unit for that. Let's take the biggest unit there is with the most sobriety and the most meetings. So anytime you want to go 24/7, you'll find a meeting. With these other groups, you won't. I'm not saying they're bad. They all spun off of AA. Stay with the mothership. All right? You don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. You want to be in a big pond and get help from all kinds of people, and you'll have more opportunities to get good sponsorship and good people. And let's face it, not everybody in AA is only AA.
Right, that's right. Yeah, I'm a double winner in many different programs in my sobriety.
Absolutely.
I have attended certain programs for certain periods of time for certain areas that I need work on, and
absolutely
that includes in AA and also outside of AA.
Oh, absolutely.
Professional help and
sure.
So I think the whole point of this podcast, it's Tony and David. We're having a conversation and just having a meeting and sharing that with you guys, anyone that's listening to this.
I agree.
To take it away and just carry this message, because I was thinking about this. Tony is real involved, and myself, but Tony even more so than me is in hospitals, institutions here in Orange County. And there's one part of AA, it's like carry the message. Now, it doesn't mean come find the message locked away in a warehouse where there's books. It's carrying the message, going out there. And what Tony does is heads the chair there. And Tony and I have also gone to panels where we go into jails, institutions, and carry that message. Because sometimes, did it take initially for you your first AA meeting to be sober? And I got it?
No. It took a long time for me I sort of think this is where I want to be. You don't get sober in the first meeting. As a matter of fact, you look at all these happy people, and I was disgusted. It's like going to Disneyland on a hangover. You don't want to be around happy people because you're not happy. I certainly was not happy. And this, keep coming back, and we love you. And it's tough to take.
Well, my first meeting was in Fullerton at the Malvern in the Fullerton Alano Club. And I was sitting in the back row, and I was 22. And these guys were hugging and kissing, and it was all Harley Davidson and tattoos and whatever it was. I was so clean cut. I didn't see it. Maybe if I would have saw a clean cut person in there, maybe I would have identified more. But I didn't at that meeting. And there was a chalkboard, and they had all the AA things on there. And, and I guess that's why the NA and the HA are there, to try to help identify. If I saw another 22-year-old clean-cut guy on the outside, I would, internally get it. So I know why those programs are there, and I know,
And some of them work. I'm not saying that you can't go to any other program, but I am saying that why not go to the biggest and the best? And accept that the 12 steps and 12 traditions apply in your life, and you can take the first word that says I'm powerless over alcohol, and you can replace it with any other disease that you think you may have, and the steps still apply equally. Because only the first half of the first step talks about what to do with your disease, that you admit you're powerless. Everything else talks about how do I live my life now that I've admitted this. And I make an argument that even sober people or normal people could take a lot out of this book with the 12 steps.
You know it. Oh, 100%. And well, and you say the first part of it, I always think of the first word too, the we part. I mean, I don't know, how did you feel
agree.
did you feel a lot of we when
No,
you
there was no we when I got here. There was I, self, me, baby. That's it.
And I think about, I guess think of it too, like when did you feel a part of AA? Like when did the we kick in? I mean,
Probably
early
after
on.
90 days, because I was in an indigent recovery home and I'd go
Yeah.
to 90 meetings in 90 days. And what pissed me off was I wasn't allowed to speak at the meeting for 90 days. And I couldn't understand why.
No, those were AA meetings at the facility, right? There wasn't like a facility.
No, it was
thing.
outside. It was, you had to walk down the street past the hookers and the dope dealers where I was to go to this little place, this bingo hall that they had. And you listen to people speak. And you were not allowed to speak if you didn't have 90 days of sobriety. Well, of course, at 5 or 6 days of sobriety, I could rewrite the book. I knew everything and I had a lot to say, but I wasn't allowed to. Fortunately for me, before 90 days, I figured out that I don't know jack and I need to shut up and listen.
So funny.
And I stayed there for 9 months. And I'll tell you what,
a long time.
9 months was,
Wow.
I needed a lot of humility and I needed it drilled into me just like I needed to be beaten into submission to come into AA.
Yeah.
And I look at that as the best time of my life because for the first time in 12 years, I was actually productive. Yes, I was peeling potatoes in an indigent recovery home for a bunch of other addicts and alcoholics. Okay, but it was legal, honest, ethical work. And it kept me sober and it reminded me that the little things matter.
You may have got a taste of that satisfaction word you like to say too.
Oh, satisfaction. I tried for 12 years to get satisfied with everything I could and could find none.
Yeah.
And here I am peeling potatoes and I'm like, wow, I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
People are coming back and thanking me for making their lunches. And,
That's great.
you know, it's the little things, right?
Yeah.
Doing your own laundry because you actually have your own clothes. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
You don't have any of that and you realize I can help others even though I'm 3 weeks sober, I'm helping others. Wow, I didn't even mean to do that. Mm-hmm. Now I might have been pushed in there and told, "Stay, don't come out until you're done," but still I did the work.
Yeah. At the end of the day, and anybody listening to these podcasts, I mean, when I travel, I listen to AA podcasts and other AA recovery themed podcasts, and it's so interesting. I always think of it kind of like self-help in business or, I want to learn a language. Oh, this is all this information, but you have to do it. I remember I was, maybe 8 years sober and I was having a little bit of hero worship with my sponsor and I was doing this thing and I was saying, my sponsor this, my sponsor that. And this old timer came up to me and he whispered in my ear when I was done, he goes, "You're doing the work, son."
Yeah, it's not being done for you.
Your sponsor's not doing it. You're doing it.
Exactly
You're doing the work. And I was thinking about that recently, and I love the principles over personalities because at the end of the day, the results are from the principles,
And
not
that's
from
what
the personality.
And that's what matters.
And that's why you and me are in this, hanging out here, having this conversation.
Exactly correct.
Because if it was personalities,
We
you'd
never
be on the
would've
Elvis Roadshow.
Yeah.
I'd be going. You on the Elvis Roadshow? You're helping Elvis off the toilet, and
kidding.
something else fell in that toilet.
That's so funny. I think that the people that when you become involved in AA, especially when you're new, and 8 years, I look back at 8 years and realize how much I didn't know at 8 years. And to have hero worship for your sponsor is normal because your sponsor usually has much more time than you do and has all this sage advice like follow through on your commitments, like suit up and show up, like dress appropriately and be responsible. And
be early. Go early.
Yeah. Stay late.
Go early to the AA meeting. Wow, who came up with that one?
Yeah, you're a genius,
You're
right?
a genius.
I think that's normal, and I think the hard thing we all have to guard against is lack of humility and believing our own press, because our brain will tell us, "Oh, I'm all that." No, we're the same as we were when we started, and every day we make a conscious, and I say conscious decision not to engage in old behavior. But that doesn't mean your brain doesn't think of old behavior. It does. It just means that now those triggers are replaced by good actions. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're new, you don't know that. And you have to act your way into better thinking. You can't think your way into better acting. I tried that for years. I have a plan. Here's what I'm thinking of. But I could never do the plan. What I learned in AA is shut up, do what you're told, get in the car, go to a meeting, and sooner or later those actions will then replace old behaviors. You'll
Yeah.
now do new actions.
Not the truth. Well, and it comes back to step one. I think about the we part of it. I think about you're unmanageable. Life is so unmanageable, powerless over alcohol, get that. But the unmanageable part of that first step, to me, is what I hear with get in the car.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going, but I'm safe.
And it's better than wherever I was going.
Exactly.
This is the hardest thing I have with newcomers. They're like little kids and they say, why? The why doesn't matter. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm taking you to a place better than you would have gone on your own.
How do you develop that trust? How is that trust established?
I don't know. I think that the person you're taking has to be willing, right? And hopefully, but through your actions and your behaviors, they see that you're living a life they would like to live. Not by the way you dress or the car you drive, but the person that you are.
Yeah.
Do you have integrity? Do you have honesty? Are you willing? Are you humble? Or are you boastful?
And how can you learn that?
Yeah.
In the meeting, I need to see you repeatedly in those
Demonstrate.
meetings in person. Zoom is fine. I'm grateful during the pandemic that was there. But it doesn't replace flesh and blood in the room breathing the same oxygen.
No.
That takes on a whole level of trust, and that allows it to happen. I see these kids now like texting in the thing, and I'm like, dude, I'm okay with that. I'm to a degree, but you got to have the follow through of the real action.
Yeah, you can't hide
'Cause it's
behind a
just
microphone
texting.
and a camera.
Because you need the fast asynchronous back
Right.
and forth. That's where
And
the emotions
I
reveal,
need
not
to
the
see you.
intellect. Yeah.
And this is why you and I sit in the same room when we do
Exactly.
this. We could sit remotely and do a podcast, but you don't get your buzz on by yourself.
No.
This is the other part that people, the reason we call this How to Get Your Buzz On in Sobriety is when I got here, my biggest fear was I would no longer be able to get my buzz on and feel my heart going. And I used to do that by doing stupid things. Now I do it by being around people and watching the miracle of recovery and people that you think they're never going to make it turn into miracles in recovery. And to share stories with people when you think my story is so bad and people get on and they say, huh, yeah, you did that. Well, this is what happened to me. And you're like, wow, I have no problems. There's always somebody worse than us.
Absolutely.
When we come in here, we think we're the worst, but there's always somebody worse. And if you listen enough to hear that and hear about permanent changes that people have had, losing an eye, losing an arm, losing a wife, losing kids, and you come in with, I have 6 DUIs, my life is over. No, not so much.
Yeah.
So that's the joy of in-person sharing that you only get when you see the emotion in somebody's face. And I think Zoom is great when we needed it, but now it's like we all need to get back to face the music, our own music in person.
Agreed. 100. Well, and that's how you really, I think, can build that trust with a newcomer. Because again, they see you on a Zoom. Again, it's very lightweight, heartfelt connection. Hence the phone conversation. This sending more data over the phone, because I can hear your attitude, tone. I can hear you. I was talking with another newcomer recently, and I could hear the voice. It's like, dude, you are so uptight.
Right.
That's me. Like, and you think you're like hiding behind the uptightness? No, dude, I was exactly that, wound up, and could be again.
Yeah.
There is no victory of time.
No, there's no finish line.
I can wind myself up with finances and insurance forms and whatever it is, whatever I think my kids.
Small children
My
problems.
kids are doing this. Yeah, exactly. I was watching this show and this guy, it was so funny. I think because I only got nervous till I fell in love. I only got paranoid until I fell in love. And it's just like those new feelings come out because I have something to lose.
Right.
And
Hey, when you come in here, you don't have anything to lose, right? But then all of a sudden you start realizing, hey, I got stuff.
Yeah.
I'm building stuff
And I want to
here,
keep it.
and I don't want it taken away.
Oh.
And what we have to always realize is we're in control of only ourselves. We're not in control of others. And that's a hard concept for a lot of us. A hard concept for me. It took me years to understand that I couldn't manage
I'm
you.
still learning that.
Or
I'm
her.
still learning that.
Well, yeah, with small kids, I bet you are.
Yeah.
Listen, I raised 2 daughters, and I will tell you right now that I realized at I had a bunch of rules and a bunch of things they were and were not going to do, and I realized that that's pointless. All I can do is set the proper example and guide them, but at the end of the day, they make their own choices. And fortunately, they made mostly good choices. The hardest thing, I think, is when you see somebody, a newcomer, a small kid, walking down the train tracks and there's an oncoming train and they think it's a light at the end of the tunnel and they won't move.
Yeah. And we watch the train go over them.
Yeah, and that's the problem. With newcomers especially is they're defiant because they're going to still work their plan. And it's hard because when I tell them, here are my rules if you want me to sponsor you. And if they don't like it, they don't choose me. That's okay. But if they do, then later they don't like it because they want to change the rules.
I already anticipate they don't like what I'm going to say.
Exactly.
Like when they go, I want to be you really don't.
Let's just start now.
Yeah, let's just go. I mean, this is a really short step work. 1, 2, 3, we're done.
Yeah, exactly. One is, you're not going to like what I'm going to tell you. B, you're not going to want to do what I'm going to ask you to do.
But I have done that stuff.
Right.
Because anything that I recommend, I've done it. And
Exactly.
if I didn't, I'll tell you. I read about it in this Influence Friends and Make Big Money business book, whatever, but it has nothing to do with Alcoholics Anonymous.
And that's
it has
the
nothing to do
difference.
with that I've done it.
Right.
It's like I've actually run that 10 miles, dude.
Yeah.
And I know when you're at mile 9, like I want to quit. Like, no, dude. Go that final mile and you are going to get that big fat buzz on.
That's
and
right.
I will be there with you, either maybe running or you call me after you did the 10 miles and we're going to get that buzz on together. And like, that's the secret too. Like after your buzz, do you want to go pick up a cocktail or
No.
a drug or a drink?
No.
Aren't you already? And how much did this cost us? Fucking,
Right.
We're hanging out in a room having a heartfelt conversation. Dude, I mean, it's just...
It's priceless.
It's priceless. And when you alluded to about the other 12-step programs, and of course the normies, these concepts are ancient. They've been distilled, and they're so American, like break it down. Like we're building a Henry Ford Edison, it's so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's spiritual concepts. And and I think of the American, it wasn't a whole lot of spiritual. It was more religion and all this. Not to get into that, but I think the beauty of AA, it broke it down and it made it accessible for this fatal illness that we have.
Exactly.
And why not use that to other problems that normies have? And I think it's there. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the problem is the stigmatism of being an alcoholic. Because when you're new, I know plenty of people that won't go into AA because they're afraid how it's going to look on them.
the resume. They're looking
Right.
at
Their life
their
resume.
job title.
Right.
CEO, entrepreneur, and alcoholic.
Oh, yeah, lose everything
boo.
else now. Yeah. Well, what I've learned, as I tell people, it's like, I used to think, wow, I'm an alcoholic, that's terrible. Then I realized my single greatest character defect is being fixed on a daily basis.
Yeah.
If you like me now, you wouldn't have liked me then. So it's a funny thing. I remember this guard asking me once, I was in a jail panel, and she came up, she says, I can't believe you sit with those people. And I said, what people? Those alcoholics. I said, honey, I am those alcoholics.
Exactly.
There's just 30 years of lipstick on this pig.
And your Jeep was running. It was broken down into the jail last one, right?
That's right. So that's, the hardest thing I think people have to understand is it's okay to be yourself. And if yourself is, I need help and I want to recover from whatever my issue is.
Oh, God.
You don't have to put a license plate frame around it. You don't have to tattoo it on your forehead, but you do have to seek to fix it and nourish it. And you have two choices. I remember my wife went through a bout of depression, and she invited me down to this couples therapy thing. And the guy giving the therapy, probably 25, doctorate. And I asked him, how did you deal with your depression? He goes, oh, I've never been depressed. So I said to my wife, I said, let's go. She goes, what do you mean, let's go? I said, he's reading out of a book that somebody else wrote. He has no idea what you're feeling.
Exactly.
Let's go find somebody who's survived this. And we found some therapists that were
beautiful,
perfect in depression that my wife could relate to.
Yeah.
And she made great progress and got out of it because having not been depressed like that, I couldn't understand at all.
Me too. My wife's got similar stuff,
I
too.
just couldn't. Why are you crying? There's nothing wrong. Why? What? I could not, because I don't have that.
No.
And I needed to find somebody who lived it. And that's what I think AA brings to everybody is I'm never going to tell you something that I have not personally experienced or done myself in recovery. And I'm not reading somebody else's stuff to tell you how to feel. I'm telling you how I feel. I can only tell you how I stayed sober, like you can only tell me how you stayed sober. There's no one way. We'll help you find the way.
And we don't need to compare how much you drank or how many arrests you got.
It's irrelevant. All irrelevant.
And your background, it's your feelings.
And where you are now.
I felt this way, and I did this, and this is where it led me. Well, guess what? I felt that too. And I took those same actions, and it led me to almost extinction.
Right.
And our feelings have led us here.
Exactly right.
And
That's the thing people need to get to is it's not a contest of who's the baddest person coming in. It's a contest of who can stay. And I don't care if you've been arrested once, never been arrested, or spent 40 years in prison. I know people, all kinds, that die, having never been incarcerated, but die from alcoholism or drug abuse. Yeah. This fentanyl thing that's going on, methamphetamine that's going on, heroin that's going on. People die every day. I don't think their family gives a crap about what happened before. They care about what happened now. Yeah. And our job, I feel, my everlasting goal, as yours is to save the people that want to be saved. Yeah. And try to save the people that don't know they need saving because they haven't fully admitted yet that they've got a problem. Because no junkie ever says, this is the last needle I'm ever going to do. Right? They don't do that. You go out, you get your stuff, right? And then you hope it all goes to plan.
Beautiful.
And if it doesn't, same thing with the alcoholic. This is the last shot I'm ever going to take. Well, truer words might never have been spoken.
So funny.
So we try to stop people before they get to that point. And you just have to be willing. Yeah. And for me, the hardest part was I wasn't willing for so long. I was working my own plan and screw you and what? My life isn't, well, I guess it is kind of unmanageable. But you need a moment of clarity. You need to have a rock bottom or a bottom where you can stop and look at yourself and go, this wasn't my high school plan. No. This wasn't my college
And did
plan.
Mommy raise you to do what you were doing?
Right, no,
not my mom. Yeah, no.
No, I did the opposite.
I remember my mom was at a meeting or I was a speaker and I did the thing and she was in the front row. She doesn't go to many of my speaker meetings anymore, but she turned around and she goes, I didn't know that. You know, it was a shame. I didn't know he did that. I've never heard my quiet little mother, my little German.
I don't know him.
I don't know him. I wasn't telling lies, Mom. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, my God.
That was the last meeting she came to.
Yeah, I bet. She's trying to bail herself out of water. Yeah. This is no reflection on you, Mom.
It's nothing
just a
to
story.
do with you.
Right. It's not about you.
You know, and there's other programs for you people.
Exactly. Al-Anon comes to mind. Yeah. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't correct it. That's the 3 C's. It's, I don't know. I think that if we could get people to understand how much fun we have, I tell people, if I could give you 5 years of sobriety overnight, you'd never touch anything again. Exactly. Because you believe what we're telling you, that you can get your buzz on in a much bigger way than you ever can using and drinking. And both of us are crash test dummies.
Exactly.
Right? How many brick walls have we run into for everybody else to go, this doesn't work? And if you don't have to believe me, but I can share numerous stories of why it doesn't work. Eventually, you don't have to be the crash test dummy and take all the arrows we did. You can stop right now.
It's all documented.
Stop right now.
So this is the first episode of Getting Your Buzz On with Tony and Dave. This is just our first stab at this. We're going to see how we evolve. And hey, Tony, thank you for being here.
David, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
We'll do it again real soon. And you guys, if it works out well, you'll hear more of us, and hopefully we'll keep you engaged and let you know that you are not alone.
Yeah, you're not alone, that's for sure. And again, if you want to reach out to Alcoholics Anonymous, just Google it. Google Alcoholics Anonymous locally in your area. I mean, one of the beauty of the internet is we're here, we're public, and we're here to carry the message. So thanks again, Tony.
You're welcome. Thank you, David.
Thank you.